I thought I was going to die. I thought that there was this big sign that I was next.
Hey guys, welcome to Neloo TV. Your host here, Naderi. Could you imagine getting to the point where you are actually asking for permission to live? That's exactly what happened to our guest today, Paul Vaden, world champion, junior middleweight boxer. Keep watching. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
What are you doing in the quarantine during this time of lockdown?
Creating the next developments of my life, preparing for the next stages of my life. And this time has given me that.
When anyone is able to achieve the level of success in their field, right? Whether it's Michael Jackson or being a boxer, like there's discipline and focus that has to go into getting to that point. So what was childhood like? And, at what point did you decide you wanted to be a boxer?
I saw Muhammad Ali at 4 years old. I can't even just properly describe how I felt when I saw him. I knew nothing about boxing. I was never an aggressive child. I was a mama's boy. I'm 52 and I'm still a mama's boy. But I immediately just took to him. There was just something about him. Every time it was like equivalent to seeing Superman. So I would mimic him. I mean, he would just change my emotions anytime I saw him. Fast forward to 1976, I'm 8 years old now. I'm still loving the sight of Muhammad Ali, but I don't have really an outlet. I'm young, I'm a baby. But the Jackie Robinson YMCA, they had a boxing team. I thought I would be denied because I was only 8 years old, but he said that I could. And that's basically the genesis of how my boxing career got started, my quest to become champ.
I know with Muhammad Ali, he verbalized out loud internally, in interviews that he was the champ before he actually became world champion. Did you also take that perspective of like visualization and seeing yourself at that level?
Once I started boxing, you know how you have the kids sharing, what are you going to be when you grow up? So I stood up in Mrs. Murchison's class and I said that I was going to become a professional world boxing champion. And then I remember she saying something like an alternative, another option. And those, because those are lofty goals. I mean, being that young. First off, I didn't know what the word option meant at the time. It didn't matter because there wasn't an option. I meant what I said. So I made that declaration. I had a great trainer by the name of Mr. Robert Coons. Robert not only gave me the basic fundamentals of boxing, but he also taught me about life, about pride, like I said, about discipline.
The discipline that you had, was that something that was instilled in you from your parents, or was that something kind of self-created?
My father was basically the maintenance man at Mercy Hospital, 23 years up to the end of his life. And I listened to him constantly tell me how the floors, the 4th, the 6th, the 8th, the 10th floors, how sparkly clean they were, how when you go on those floors, you're going to know the difference. Those are the floors he controlled. As I got older, I started to understand. As I started to become more focused, my father had a lot of pride about what he did. Those are things I kind of fell into. So the discipline to hear him get up in the morning also inspired me to make sure that I was getting up in the morning, not just getting up to jog at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning when it's convenient. I wanted to be up at 4 o'clock. I wanted to be in those trenches when it was inconvenient.
Why does that matter?
Separators, because those are the moments that for me, championship rounds, the 10th, 11th, and 12th round, when it's going to make the difference. I'm comfortable being in discomfort because I've worked for this. I am, and I've also visualized myself. So when I'm up in the morning running, it's just not a job. It's also a focus process, meaning during my boxing career, I put in my mind what has taken place in those 12 rounds, meaning I've been maybe hurt, I've been knocked down, I may be behind, but then through that long run, I've also focused on myself, making my way back, catching up, and securing victory, overcoming better yet. That's why I always tell people it's always good to visualize.
How much of boxing is mental versus physical?
There's a lot of talent in the boxing game. There's a lot of individuals that have so much innate talent that you will never hear about because they will be mentally broken down before they even reach the ring, or if they got to maybe a few stanzas. When those lights hit you and when you hear the crowd and then you putting yourself before potential sea of people, which you can be humiliated because you're not ready.
Let's talk about Answer the Bell. So this was a book that you wrote, and now it's actually, you use it as your platform with your executive coaching and speaking. It's about inventing the champion that's within you, right?
Answer the Bell also was about a time in my life when I had to make a choice, when I had to go through a catastrophic episode in my life, and where I kind of lost myself. This champion became this champion, but his script extended, and he had to make a choice.
What was that moment?
Oh gosh, 1999, I would lose my cousin to suicide, a very close cousin. And then it would be followed up by his father, my uncle, who would commit suicide. And then November 20th, I would win my third title in a boxing match, and I would knock the individual out in the 10th round.
Stephan Johnson.
And he would die 15 days later, never regained consciousness. And then
all of that happened in a very short period of time.
Back to back, January, August, November. Here I'm married. My son turned three days after Stephan had passed away. My career was done as a boxer.
Instinctively, you knew that when Stephan passed away, or
not when he passed. I knew that night, because like I said, he was in a coma for 15 days. I would have never, if he would have made it through, I would have never came back to the ring. It was shaky enough from what had happened. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So I was done that night, even if he had made it. But I had another life to live, because I had been building and understanding that there was another reason why I was here on earth, a bigger reason why, much bigger than why I became this champion of the world. And remember something, the people that are impactful to me are people who are beyond what they do. Muhammad Ali was not just a boxer. He was beyond the boxer. I mean, everything he stood for, his principles, the fact that you couldn't keep him quiet. And yeah, he was comical, but there was a lot of conviction and a lot of substance behind the words and what he had to say. He was definitely an individual who walked the walk. Someone like that, I was learning. I'm a student. I'm not a fan. The individuals my superheroes, I'm not like, this fanatic. I'm a student. I follow, what they do.
What role did forgiveness play in your transitioning from that part of your life to the next? I can imagine that fight probably haunted you for some time.
It changed me. I thought I was going to die. I thought this was all a sign. Listen, you have a situation that happens where a kid just turned 21 years old. He commits suicide. And then you have your uncle, who his father, he commits suicide. So boxing has always been something that I have been able to go to during testy times, always. A place of therapy where I can go and create and box and get away and then deal with the world following. So when I went to my therapy, it also let me down with another casualty, so another horrific episode in addition. So I thought that there was this big sign that I was next, and which made me difficult for me for people to live with, meaning being married and being a father, but also I was having a difficult time living because I thought that I was going to die. It was difficult for me to take a full deep breath back then was a true victory, because there weren't many. Everything was shallow. My life was shallow. And I was just sitting there waiting to die. I wouldn't work out. Because I was scared to work out. I wasn't owning my life. Life was owning me at the time. And I believed I was going to die. So because of that, I decided to come back to the ring. And if I was going to die, it's kind of like I felt this is the place that I should die. This is the place that I said I was going to become this champion. But also this is the place that this individual that I boxed, that he died. And because I felt so much blame, it was like, okay, well, this is the place you need to go. And so I would come back to the ring, not to win or lose a fight, but to see if I had permission to live, if I deserved to live. I was a shell of my former self as a boxer, but I got hurt in the 5th round, and I started fighting back, fighting to live, wanting to get to that other side. Because remember, I needed to have this answer. Did I have permission to live to get onto my other part of my life?
Permission from?
Well, from God. I would get through those trenches of that fight and I would hear that 12th round and the completion of the fight, meaning the bell that it was over and I was still alive, and was able to start on with my life. And eventually, as life would go on, it started to table set the rest of my life. So I did answer the bell. I found out my answer and was able to tell these stories because everyone has something that they're going through. Everyone has something that gives them at times a sense of they feel they're suffocated, that they need this individual, or they need something to resuscitate hope, resuscitate belief. I believe that I've been that individual that has been able to go through things for these times for people.
There's that period of kind of metamorphosis that I go through, and some of us go through it multiple times in one lifetime, and it sounds like that's what was happening for you. Yeah. And there was a part of you that was dying in order for a new version of Paul to emerge. Correct. To go down this new journey, the bigger goal, the Absolutely. More universal mission. Absolutely. And where we struggle is that we're not able to let go of who we are in order to become who we're meant to be. Right. And that's where that struggle comes from, in my experience. Yeah. And is that the work that you're doing now, is helping people kind of transition to becoming the version of themselves or the next version of themselves? Is that the coaching that you do now?
The coaching is allowing people to realize their max potential, but understanding that there's always another level. So that means you never become complacent. You never become settled, including myself. So the experience and the experiences, there's a sense of growth that lies within me going through while helping others, and how I can do better work. There's my best work is still ahead. You know what I mean? My best round is still ahead. So I try to transfer that in onto other people as I watch them win, but watch them also still grow and understand, knowing that there's a better version of themselves that's still around the corner. And it's a fun thing. It's a beautiful thing to understand that there's better work ahead. Those are boxing tools that I learned through being since I was 8 years old. And as I started to grow and become even more focused, that with repetition, most people to go, oh gosh, I got to do this again. I have to do this again. No, really, again, I did it well. I already did it right. Well, there's a better way of doing it. And you want to be where it becomes like a reflex. If you think of all the greats, they all are about
Michael Jordan shoot free throws.
It's a perfect example. And a lot of times Michael Jordan did it when no one else was there. That's when I talked about separation, when no one else was there. That goes about discomfort, inconvenience at inconvenient times when no one else is there, when they're trying to do other things that seem fun, be it party or all these other things. You know, their party is, I want to perfect my craft. That's what the greats do. When you do that there's another level, and you don't become settled by it. So you become obsessed with providing excellent service.
The way you started this conversation today is you said you're using this time to create. Mm-hmm. Do you have recommendations if someone feels stuck during this time, or feels, their old life is over and maybe everything is kind of falling apart? Like, how do you create from that rubble?
If you're on the news right now, they're going to drill in you where it kind of makes you sometimes feel hopeless. You have to dissolve yourself from that and try to go to stories and people who have made it through particular storms, but then put yourself there and then just read up on stories, research stories, and start to work your way back at once, slowly but surely. It may not be immediate. It takes work. Everything takes work. Yeah. But at least get started and do not be dissuaded from getting to that goal, because I call it unwavering focus. You have to block out the noise. Block out the noise. If someone else is not going to do something, in most cases, they're going to try to dissuade you from reaching your goal. It could be jealousy. It's just because they want you to stay in that bunch. But you have to have unwavering focus to where you want to go and where you want to be and how you want to feel. there's a lot of time right now, and play a game within a game. See yourself being something.
So Paul, if people are listening, are feeling inspired and want to get in touch with you, how do they find you?
Easy. I mean, go to my website, answerthebell.com, on all social media options, but it's easy to get me answerthebell.com.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I loved the conversation. I felt connected to you as we were speaking. And I hope our audience learned a lot from this.
I hope so too. Thank you for this moment.
If you like this interview and want more inspiring content like it, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Share this interview with someone who could really use Paul's words of wisdom. And leave me a comment. What was your favorite part? I'll talk to you soon.